Hey, and welcome back to Game Talk. I'm your host, Sam, and me on today I'm joined by Connor.
Hey, guys.
And Mike.
Hello.
And we now live in a post-Tears of the Kingdom world. All three of us have played it. I have played the least.
I'm just curious,
the most.
How many hours do you guys have? Do you know?
So that's a great question, because just today, I think, is the 10-day mark.
Yes.
So our Switches are now showing us how much time we put into the game. So I, according to my Switch, have over 40 hours in this game already.
I have
50 plus.
over 65.
Okay, that tracks with just our anecdotal conversations.
Did you say 80 plus,
And-
Mike?
No, I'm at
No,
like
he's at 50.
50-ish.
50. Okay, so I'm at the most. Yeah, that makes sense. I had a
Yes,
week off,
yeah.
as I've mentioned. So I was playing a lot.
But even so, I'm impressed. Like, I was kind of surprised, because I did play a lot, but I didn't think I played 40 hours worth. But the time just apparently flies when you play this game.
It's an easy game to get lost in. I'm actually kind of finally bumping up against the, like, not feeling the urge to play it constantly. Because the stuff I have left to do is, like, not the big stuff.
You did the Connor thing that you always do, where you just like beeline the main
I
story.
didn't. I took a very
Oh, you didn't?
meandering
Okay.
path through this game. I did not beeline the story. I did if I was in an area that had story content already, I would do it. But I don't think at any point I went to do story content on purpose.
Okay, fair.
I kind of did, but that was in between meandering.
You easily could have beat this game. Like, if I was beelining it, it would have been 20, 25 hours probably for me to beat it.
Okay, fair. So, just to give context to everyone and to make clear the spoiler rules, right? So, I guess spoiler alert: there are dungeons in this game. So,
Ugh.
I have only completed the first dungeon as of now. Still,
Which
40
one
hours
did you
in.
do?
I did the Rito dungeon, which is kind of what the
Okay.
game I feel like guides you to do first.
Yeah, it's also
Kind of the weakest dungeon,
It is the
honestly.
weakest. It's definitely in the bottom two, I would say.
So that's really encouraging to me, because I was pretty impressed by, like, the dungeon itself was fine, but the getting to the dungeon and the actual boss fight, like you said, Connor.
Yes, I
They
was
were
talking about this with Amit earlier.
incredible.
I think that, like, the quality of the dungeons very much depends on when you say that the dungeon starts. Because I
Oh, yeah.
I
To
definitely
me,
the
like,
climb
I
up.
literally
Yeah.
thought the climb up was the dungeon, and I was like happy with it. I was like, this is so cool. Like basically navigating all the way up to the sky on these like little sky islands. And then when I got there and it said that it was like the dungeon, I was like, holy crap, that was just the lead up to the dungeon, not the dungeon itself. And I was just like, ugh, this game.
And then the dungeon's
It's
just
so
kind
good.
of okay.
Yeah, I feel like
mean,
I could talk about my opinions on all the dungeons, and I'm going to use their vague titles instead of telling you where they're at and what happens in them.
So
But-
the only thing I will say is that please do not tell me if there are more than 4 dungeons, because to me, like, it's obvious, the Rito, Goron, whatever, like the 4 like locations. Like, it's obvious to me that there are dungeons there, but I don't know anything beyond that.
Right.
So just saying that. And I think before we get into any specifics, I think we should just talk about our general impressions of this game to start
This
with.
game makes an insane first impression. Like, my jaw was hanging open for a lot of the opening, like, 15 or 20 minutes. Like,
I was skeptical of the game until I think I hit the second dungeon, and it really hit me.
oh, really?
Yeah, so Mike,
Yeah.
I think I'm most interested to hear your thoughts, because as someone who has very vocally been against Breath of the Wild, it sounds like you're enjoying Tears of the Kingdom a lot more.
But the thing about Tears of the Kingdom is Tears of the Kingdom is like the Ocarina of Time of this new generation of Zelda. It took all the mechanics that were kind of built up in Breath of the Wild and made them all mesh together perfectly, unlike what Breath of the Wild did, where some of them just kind of stood out, kind of contrary to the game.
See, like, obviously I have a high opinion of Breath of the Wild, but I agree with you in the sense that I really feel like after playing this game, Breath of the Wild was almost like a prototype.
Yeah, I disagree with your opinion that Breath of the Wild did a bad job, but I agree 100% that Tears of the Kingdom did a much better job. So
Yeah, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom basically took the foundation laid by Breath of the Wild, which which was a great foundation to be sure, and just ran absolutely wild with it. It was, I think it was such a smart decision now in hindsight of just being like, okay, we have all these tools, we have all these physics-based mechanics that we've created in Breath of the Wild. That the work of building all that is already there. Now, let's just go crazy with our imagination. Like, I see why this game took 6 years to develop. It was because of all of the things that they were dreaming up. It wasn't the building of any tools or anything like that. It was just, I would wager it's mostly design. Obviously the new powers had to be,
that can't be totally right
out, but
because Aonuma did say recently that last delay for a full year, the game was essentially
all polish.
Done, and they did a year of polish after
and
that.
I think
it shows.
It shows.
It definitely shows, and I think historically, like, this game has proved, like, repeatedly, games like this have proved that, like, that extra polish matters. That extra year of polish is what made this into a masterpiece, I'm willing to bet.
Yeah, I mean, I've run into no bugs, no, like, nothing, no weird behavior.
Like, Breath of the Wild was, like, impressive in its, like, varied sandbox and just, like, what you could dream up to do. Take that and just, like, amplify that many times over, and you have Tears of the Kingdom. The sheer amount of things that you can do in this game, that you can dream up in this game, truly staggering. And for that to all sort of just work without any really noticeable bugs, at least for me, like, it's been, like, completely smooth for me, is really a testament to the, I guess, the quality control that went into this game.
Yeah. So you've only done one dungeon, right, Ahmed?
I've only done the Rito dungeon, yeah.
I'm just trying to gauge. Have you seen?
I'm getting close to the Goron dungeon, though. I will say that.
Oh, the Goron. Have you you've gone through the Goron area and stuff?
I'm going through the Goron area now.
Wild.
I think, at least.
Wild. What's going on up there?
Yeah. They're all, like, drugged out or whatever.
Yeah. Wild. That Ganondorf introduced crack rocks to the Goron community.
I know, right? That's.
I think,
like, kind of a double take there. Yeah.
My favorite elements of all these dungeons is that the bosses are just new modernized versions of these traditional Zelda bosses.
Are they?
I think, like,
no spoiler. Yes, like, the Goron boss is a classic Zelda boss enemy.
Yeah, but I don't remember the Rito boss. I don't remember that.
I mean, the Rito boss was a variant on a classic Zelda enemy as well.
It was like a.
I mean, think of the Rito boss in Wind Waker, and you can.
Oh, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, kind of like a Moldorn kind of character.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've only fought one boss, but, like, and obviously it wasn't going to be like some Dark Souls style boss, but, like, just. I mean, it was easy, but, like, it was
easy.
It was thrilling, man. Yeah. Like, just the way you fought that thing, it was exhilarating.
The Rito boss probably is my favorite.
And what I love about this game, I think, the most, is that it can create these set piece style moments where in games like, let's say, Uncharted, it would be a very directed sequence, maybe even with its own mechanics just for that sequence. But Breath of the Wild's toolset is so robust, it can create set pieces with all of, like, just the natural gameplay mechanics. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah, there's also these sequences where they, like, pitch you and a bunch of other, like, NPCs against dozens of enemies.
Yeah.
Just out in the world.
I don't think I've had one of those yet.
And they're not very challenging.
The engine to its limit.
The fact that you are not the only one fighting actually, like, is pretty neat in this game, and it creates some pretty cool moments.
I think the introduction of, like, the sage mechanic is really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got, like, the first power, and it's pretty much a game changer.
The only
like,
useful one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why they guide you there first.
The Goron one's super useful. What do you mean?
I have never used any of the others outside of their dungeon. The Rito one is the only one I've ever used.
The Goron one replaces bomb arrow.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah,
break through rocks without using dirt.
But that's, I mean, that leads to another great thing I want to discuss is the powers, right? Like you said, replacing bomb arrows. There are no bomb arrows in this game. You just use your fuse power to make bomb arrows or fire arrows or ice arrows or whatever, you know?
So neat.
It is super neat, yeah. Especially on arrows.
I would say arrows are where
mechanic.
There was a boss fight. No spoilers for this boss fight, but it's halfway through the game where I had to use a sword to a stick to beat the boss because I just didn't have anything that did damage left.
Yeah, I've definitely had
yeah.
a few times where I've had to like
Just scrounge around, stick things together.
Yeah, I've had to like drop some monster parts in the middle of a fight and fuse them real quick because I just didn't plan ahead at all.
It is. I can't spoil that mid boss fight because it's a little spoily.
Yeah,
but
I will say it kind of ruins the fan service weapons that they're almost completely useless compared to the fusion weapons. And you can fuse stuff to them.
Weapons.
What?
Fan service weapons. What could you mean by that?
Like they had them in Breath of the Wild. Like you can find
Master Sword, I'm assuming.
No, the Master Sword's still pretty good. But like the is it the Great Fairy Sword from Majora's Mask and stuff? Like that was in Breath of the Wild. It's still in Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
And I found some of those, but they do like 30 damage or whatever, and it's a two-handed sword. So it like it's useless compared to what I've been fusing together. And you can fuse stuff to it, but then it's not that sword anymore. So
right. But I think fuse, I guess since we're talking about fuse, we can talk about fuse first out of the 4 or so powers. But fuse in particular, weapon durability was never a concern for me in Breath of the Wild. I thought it fit with the mechanics of the game. But this is a sort of way to mitigate that at least a little more. Because like I find myself specifically looking for like sturdy, thick sticks or whatever.
Yeah.
Or sturdy clubs. And then fusing things to those. And they just last a good long time.
There is just a lot more to think about too. Because I never really thought about... like when you found a weapon in Breath of the Wild, you just used it. Or you saved it. Those are the only two options. Whereas in Tears of the Kingdom, I find a weapon... And I'm like running this like, calculus in my head.
Right. You have to decide like what do I want to do with this weapon?
Yeah, like how
do I want to turn this into an elemental weapon? Do I want to turn this into a purely like damage based weapon? Do I want to turn this into a ranged weapon somehow?
Do I need an axe? Do I need a hammer? Do I need a sword?
Right.
And like I'm also running the numbers like, oh, this has this much durability, so I should probably use a better fusion material on it than I would on like a stick or something. Yeah.
It's amazing what one simple mechanic addition, how much complexity that introduced.
Have you guys run into the this isn't this well, we all watched the trailer, so this isn't a spoiler. Have you guys run into the Guyok yet?
Oh yes.
Yeah. I ran into one early game and just got bodied over and over and had to leave. I've gone back and killed one now. Not the one that I lost against earlier, but...
I haven't killed one yet.
You have to use fuse kind of... I mean, not super creatively, but using fuse on your arrows makes those fights easier for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's just challenging to me because, like, at least where I'm in the game right now, they one-shot me.
Yeah, it is much harder to upgrade your equipment in this game. Like the materials economy seems harder on me, which is weird because I have
one-shotting is a thing.
Yeah, especially just
this game is immensely harder than Breath of the Wild ever
was.
It
is difficult. Yeah.
See, I feel like Breath of the Wild was also very hard early game.
I do think Breath of the Wild was also hard. I think both games are harder than your average Zelda fare.
And then I think both games get pretty easy about 30 hours in. Like,
I'm still challenged by some boss fights.
I'm never challenged to the extent that, obviously like a Souls-like or something would give me. But like, there are certain fights where I'm like, yeah, this is tough. Because, for instance, and I guess, man, can I spoil a small thing? I don't know. Since I'm the furthest behind, I'm sure you guys have already done this. But the Gloom Hands, right?
Oh my god, yeah. I had that like somewhat spoiled for me. My friend referred to it as sentient gloom. And I was like, what? I haven't seen that yet.
That was genuinely scary.
It was scary the first time
I walked into a cave and found them. Like,
because I tried to fight them and I couldn't.
Oh, so you guys haven't killed them
just
yet?
Bodied. Okay, so here's the story here.
Kill one to progress.
So very early into the game, And like this game for me so far has just been a series of tangent adventures. Like I see one thing that leads to another, that leads to another, that leads to another, and that's completely unrelated to the thing I first set out to do.
That's just how
and
this
has
game
happened.
plays.
Oh yeah, that's how this game plays, right? But I'm sure if you're really hard-headed, you could just click the story objective, walk there, and do it. But that's just the game does its utmost to convince you not to do that. But anyway, so I walk into this cave because I was hunting this armor set that they were talking about. I heard an NPC talking about it, and it's not like a quest or anything. You just sort of have to listen to what they have to say.
Was it Lindor's Brow Cave?
I don't remember the name of the cave because it was pretty early
in the
on.
Center, and there was a shrine on the other end.
No, maybe no, I don't think so. But this is where I got that armor that I sent you guys a screenshot of, the Phantom armor. So
is it called Phantom armor?
Yeah,
yeah, it's from Spirit Tracks.
So I, at previous to that point, I had fought the Gloomhands before and just gotten like body complete. I was like, I don't know how to beat these things. But I ran into the Gloomhands again in the cave. I was like, oh no, like I'm not gonna get this armor because I can't kill this thing yet. But this time I was just like, you know what? I definitely can kill this thing because the game gives you so many tools. You just have to figure out what to do with them, right? So I found a place where I could perch up and I just like shot bomb arrows at them until they died. And I was like, phew, I killed this thing. This is awesome. And then a boss appeared called Phantom Ganon and then proceeded to absolutely rock me. And I was just like, this game is goated after that happened.
Yeah.
I felt so smart being able to kill the Gloomhands, and that was just like a prelude to this other thing. And I was like, oh. And then, right, I was just like, you know what? I'm going to Souls it. I'm just going to stay here until I can beat Ganon, Phantom Ganon. So this is me on like, you know, back when I only had like 4 or 5 heart containers total. So I basically had to beat him without getting touched. And I did end up doing that, but it took a fair few attempts. And he dropped some really nice stuff that I still have in my inventory to this day. But that was just like one example of like just seemingly innocuous, not even a quest, not even a side quest, but like a rumor an NPC talked about like this armor in a cave led to its own like little side adventure that's going to stick with me probably even more than some of the main story stuff because it was like something I felt like I did naturally.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of that.
That's the thing with this game. Like, yes, like the story is fun, and I already feel like it's significantly better than Breath of the Wild's. But like, I think the thing you will remember the most from this game are all the stories that you make, all the adventures you go on, because like all the emergent gameplay that happens, the emergent exploration that happens, kind of lends itself to creating your own story.
I think the story in this game is passable. Like, it's fine, and there's a decent amount of it. It definitely.
Well, I'll at least tell you, it started off.
It starts off
strong.
incredible, and it this is kind of it ends incredible too. Like my jaw was on the floor. Like it sticks the landing in a way Breath of the Wild could never dream of. But the in between stuff is mediocre to bad, I would say. Like they paint this world that has like all this like. You're excited to learn about the Zonai, and you have this whole world to explore. Every single bit of lore in this game tells you the same thing. There's one thing to learn in this game, and you will learn it over and over and over, and I was so tired of it by the end.
At least 4 times.
Yeah, they act like there's this huge lore about the past in the Zonai that you're going to learn, and that's the reward for a lot of these quests. It's that and some
See,
movies.
I am
and it's all trash. It's all like
interested.
so boring, and there's nothing to it.
That sucks, because like the I guess the sort of allure of it is kind of appealing to me. Like the fact that there was this ancient, technologically advanced civilization, and from where I am in the story right now, it seems like Zelda's stuck in the past, but I don't really know. And it all seems rather interesting to me. So it is a little disappointing to hear that it doesn't really come together in a satisfying way.
So the character stories are good. What happens to Zelda, and especially what happens in the present, which is something Breath of the Wild kind of failed at. The present is far more interesting than the past. But the game has such a strong focus on the past. None of that lore is rewarding. Like, you don't learn anything about the Zonai. You only learn about Rauru. Like,
And you also learn a good bit about Ganon, because this is like an amalgamation Ganon. I think Breath of the Wild's Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom's a continuity.
Yeah, it has to be, because, and that's the other thing that's made me mad, is that this game barely respects the continuity between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and doesn't at all respect any of Zelda's history. It actually just kind of doesn't care. And like, I know Zelda has always kind of played fast and loose with a timeline, but this one especially does not care at all about what's happened in the past.
I almost wonder as if, and I think Nintendo might be kind of starting to lean this way, is that Breath of the Wild is a sort of soft reboot for the series.
Yeah.
I think Zelda did need it. It's gotten convoluted and out of control.
I don't think it did, like, yeah, the timeline split and everything, but like, they could have done it, like, a Breath of the Wild didn't bother me. Like, its convergence of the timelines didn't bother me. But, like, when you beat... This is a very minor spoiler about when you beat the Rito dungeon. They say that the Rito were there at the founding of Hyrule, which is explicitly not true in the past games.
Right.
Because the Rito are descendants of the Zora in Wind Waker. And not like a long time ago descended from the Zora. But, like, Medley is the Earth Sage, descended from... Medley's descendant is a Zora, and she's a Rito. So, like, it wasn't even that long ago that they descended. And so, having them there at the same time was already, like, it makes sense. Like, that's how evolution works. They're both still there. But saying that the Rito were there at the founding of Hyrule means that either... none of the other games are canon in this world, or this is a different Hyrule, which neither of those are very satisfying to me. I'm waiting for Zeltic to make a video and rationalize all this for me. I also, like...
At least... Yeah. Go ahead.
When they... first 10 minutes of the game, Ganondorf says, Roru trusted you with that sword or whatever, and I immediately was like, oh my god, Roru, like the Sage of Light from Ocarina of Time, and then it's a different guy. Like, they just have the same name.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it's called, and obviously this is coming from someone who probably has the least. Like, I enjoy the lore for Zelda, but it doesn't, like, I don't go, like, watching YouTube analyses on it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not that deep into it. It's just like some surface level thing I enjoy.
Yeah.
But I really think that they're really capitalizing on the title, The Legend of Zelda, right? Like, it's a legend because it's not really firm on, like, what happened.
Yes and no. Like, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker very, very firmly takes place after Ocarina of Time. It talks about Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, that much was obvious.
Same with Twilight
like,
Princess.
I really think they're taking a new approach now with Breath of the Wild, and then Tears of the Kingdom, and then whatever comes next. Because, like,
I just find it kind of frustrating.
Yeah, and maybe they will go back. Like, it wouldn't be the first time they retroactively tried to tie everything together. Like, maybe there will be an explanation years down the road, but as of now, that's certainly what it seems like to me. Is that, like, we're in a whole new kind of rebooted continuity?
It's like such a minor complaint because the game is about gameplay. Like, the story is very much in the backseat.
The story is just like sprinkling. It's nothing.
But, like, the story is in a big way the reward for some of the quests. And they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to break continuity in the way that they did. That was a choice they made. And frankly, I don't see any benefit from it. Like, they could have just not done it. I don't see why they did.
Yeah.
it was a very strange decision. Especially, like,
I think
we have all these Sky Islands, and there's nothing. No
connection to Skyward Sword?
No Skyward Sword connection.
That's amazing
at all. It does not come up a single time.
Like, I was just like, oh, are the Zonai somehow connected to
nope.
The Skyloft?
They mention
from Skyward Sword, or
Zelda being a descendant of Hylia, which is directly from Skyward Sword.
Right.
But that's it. That's the only mention of it. And
yeah,
it's just
at this point, yeah,
especially because, like, if you guys remember,
deliberate.
if you listened to our last episode, my predictive theory was just completely wrong on every way. Not only does it not have you finding the memories of past links, but it doesn't even respect that they happened.
No, you went all in like a completely incorrect
completely
direction.
wrong.
Yeah, but I did one thing I did manage to predict correctly, I was like, maybe it's just a time skip and there's no timey-wimey stuff happening. And it does seem like that's the case. Because, like, and that was kind of unclear to me. Because, like, I guess spoilers for the first 5 minutes of the game, right? Where Link sort of, the event at the beginning of the game happens and Link is asleep or whatever for weeks, months, years. Like, it seems like months to me.
It's definitely not years because people are not that worried about him. I would say, I would say weeks, like weeks to like 2 months tops.
So I was sort of just judging by the growth of his hair, right? Like maybe a couple months.
I don't think his hair is that much longer. I think it's just not tied up anymore.
That's true too. Yeah, that's a really good point. Because when you do get like headgear that ties it up, he looks like how he used to.
Yeah.
Like in Breath of the Wild. So maybe it's just that, it's untidy now.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, that looks really good on Link.
Oh, yeah.
The sort of just like wild hair with like the caveman look, you know?
He's a fashion icon. Wild that this game does not give you a shirt for a really long time.
They know what we want. They know exactly what we want.
I thought I was missing it. I looked everywhere. You play almost an hour of this game shirtless.
There is a shirt on that first island.
I know.
We know
but
it's right. Okay.
It's a while into the game. Like,
yeah, you find the pants first.
You find the pants, quote unquote. But it is a long time before you find the shirt. Like, I mean, I was meandering, I guess, but it was about 40 minutes to an hour before I found a shirt. I thought I had missed it. I was convinced that they could not have separated them.
I thought I missed it too, yeah. But I don't know, like, I think there's some truth to what Mike is saying there, where like it was like kind of fan service.
Yeah, probably.
But
also, this game's restraint with giving you stuff early game is incredible.
I mean, there's a very good reason for that. Is because the mechanics are they're simple yet so infinitely dense that they just want to slowly introduce things to you.
But the amount of time, and I loved this. I won't say when or where you get it. But the amount of time it takes to get the paraglider in this game is
oh my god!
excellent.
I was so shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, how do I not have this thing yet?
Yeah.
But yeah, they wait to give that to you for hours.
Yes, and it is very nice to have once you have. Like, I saw people getting into shrines, which I guess spoiler alert, this game has shrines that they like had trouble finishing because they didn't get the paraglider yet.
Dude, the same thing happened to me. The same, like, I entered a shrine, because, like, you know me, I like to meander off.
Yeah.
So, like, I was just, like, long gone before I'd even gotten the paraglider. But I encountered a shrine where I was just like, okay, I cannot progress, and I'm, like, 95% sure I need the paraglider to progress. And I was right. So, like,
I left, excited
made a
to
note
see
of it.
the no paraglider runs in this game, though, because they made it very easy to just not get it if you don't want to.
Yeah, you could just ignore it.
Yeah, I will probably not get it in my next run because you were saying it's impossible. I bet it's just very difficult.
Oh yeah, I don't think anything's impossible in this. This game is designed to have
it might be
multiple solutions to every problem. I think
get into the depths without the pair.
It would be difficult for sure, but
oh my god, that's a whole nother discussion.
I don't think it'll be impossible because I bet you could build something that makes it safe.
I want to know how they kept such a massive part of the game secret from everybody.
Yeah. Okay. I really want to talk about the depths too, but before we do that, I wanted to compare. What do you guys think of the opening hours of this game versus Breath of the Wild? Specifically, I'm talking about the Great Plateau versus the Sky Island you started.
I think they're
the Sky
very
Island's much more enjoyable.
Okay. I think Mike and you said different things.
Mike, you
and
go
I
first.
think go ahead.
I enjoyed the Sky Island much more than the Great Plateau because it didn't like tempt me with the rest of Hyrule. Like I couldn't look over and see, oh, there's all of Hyrule. I wish I could go there.
That is a really good point. Yeah.
It kind of just focused you on this island instead of tempting you with like.
See, I think they're about even, but they just had very different goals. Like the Great Plateau wanted to tempt you with Hyrule. It also wanted to introduce you to this wide open world, whereas there's a very obvious linear path on the Great Sky Island. And I don't think that's a bad thing, but it's just
I think it's a great thing.
Extremely
I think
different.
it's a great. I think Sky Island So I've heard actually mixed. I've heard both opinions in that Sky Island sucks. Great Plateau is so better, and like Sky Island's the best, way better than Great Plateau. Like I've even heard some people say that like they couldn't get into the game at all until after they left Sky Island and got to Hyrule, which is just astonishing.
Oh, I don't agree with that at
like,
all.
Minutes into Sky Island, I was just like, this is already a masterpiece.
Much like Breath of the Wild, the Great Sky
feel that.
Island is one of my favorite parts of the game.
I personally think it is one of the best tutorial areas ever.
Yeah.
I like it even better than the Great Plateau, and I think that is because I like the power set in this game just more than Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild felt super generic. All these powers feel super useful in all available
The power
aspects.
set in this game just amps up the creativity by like 1,000.
It is
Like
It wants you to break the game.
Yeah.
Like using the powers, you can break the game, and it wants you to
It
do it.
rewards
it really
yeah.
does want you to do it. And like you're so right, Mike. Like Aonima even gave an interview where he was just like, like there are no like right solutions to these puzzles. If you quote unquote cheat to get past it, then we encourage it because it's fun to cheat. Like
I have a story about this, about one of these solutions.
I will say that
There's a
Oh, you can go first, Mike. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
there's a shrine that requires you to use these sleds. And I think the intended solution was to reverse the sled back up the slope so you could get up the gap and go back to where the sled started. I just glued a bunch of sleds together to form a ladder.
I love just brute
I'm
forcing
thinking
things.
to myself, this isn't probably what they wanted me to do, but it works anyway.
I've done so much janky stuff. Like obviously I've done like the right stuff too, but I love just being dumb sometimes. I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like figuring you out. I'm just gonna glue like 30 logs
See,
together.
There's one dumb solution that I keep coming back to, and it just keeps working, and that's kind of making me mad, which is you can use Ultra Hand to float a platform over somewhere and then bring it back and then use Recall.
Rewind.
Yeah, and that is an extremely boring solution that just keeps working for me, and I kind of have to make a point not to use it sometimes.
I think my favorite solution to a lot of the puzzles you encounter in dungeons in particular is just to, like, hey, you have to get this across this gap and you can't Ultra Hand it up the other side. But you just Ultra Hand it up, rewind it back,
And grab it.
and then grab it with Ultra Hand on the other side.
I've done that one too. Yeah, the Recall is extremely powerful. It also has like, and I wouldn't nerf it. I'm not saying that at all. I don't know what I would do different if anything. But it has to be extremely powerful because when you're just playing around in the sandbox, you need that undo button so badly.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, cause like, okay, so just so we're clear here. So the powers in this game are Recall, which is a time rewind ability. Ultra Hand, which you can use to pick things up and glue things together. Ascend, which you can use to jump up through any solid object and basically like swim to the top. And, well, do I want to talk about the other one?
No.
Okay, so there's another one, but it's kind of spoilery, so we're going to leave that one out. But with these, I didn't leave it. I didn't forget anything, did I? Those are the four, right?
I think so. Yeah. There's also the camera,
Okay.
which is a pure pad thing,
Yeah,
but it's in the ability
whatever.
wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god, I can't tell you. I was so upset when one of my precious ability slots got taken up by a freaking camera. I was just like,
that
oh,
was.
really. I thought it was
They
some
had me
cool new
thinking that
mechanic
there were going to be a lot
was
of
waiting in the
abilities
wings.
this game.
Yeah.
Especially where
But
like
honestly,
I think
yeah, I'm like, even with the few abilities, they're so versatile, and you could do so much with them. I'm totally satisfied.
Yeah.
Like
With those, like 3 abilities alone, you can do almost anything.
I mean, have you guys? I don't know how averse to spoilers you've been, but have you guys like seen some of the things people have built on?
Oh, I've seen some stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I've
It's
seen some
wild.
like war machines, autonomous drones. It's nuts.
Yeah.
My
putting
favorite I've
together.
seen so far, I think, is the big wheel, which was somebody.
I did see that.
They made
yeah.
like a unicycle thing that it was like one of the game's wheels, and then they stuck a bunch of supports to it, and then platforms on the end of the supports to just make a much bigger wheel and drove it around, and it was so cool. It wasn't practical at all, but
People have made pod racers already.
oh yeah,
Like,
and no, like the flying, like I saw a video that was like we're all playing Zelda and this dude's playing Star Fox, and the dude had like built
Yeah.
just like like an R-wing and was flying it around and shooting dragons and like
Oh yeah. Wait a minute. I forgot about Fuse. We talked about Fuse earlier, but Fuse is the final ability.
Oh yeah, Fuse.
Fuse is the fourth ability. Yeah.
Like,
And then there's a hidden fifth ability. Yep. Go ahead.
Ultra Hand is so neat.
Ultra Hand is
they
probably
also
the
give
MVP.
you
I like all the
Korok
powers,
puzzles
but
that use Ultra Hand.
Yeah. And the Korok puzzles
if
are
you-
actually fun. They're not just there.
If you, listener, have been on Twitter in the last 2 weeks,
Oh yeah.
you have seen
Oh,
what
yeah.
people have done with Koroks.
it's so funny, man.
Cathartic,
It's so funny.
honestly.
So it's become sort of a meme to just basically torture the Koroks, and I'm so
All they do is just go oof. They don't feel pain. They just say oof.
Did you
and
guys
make a
know there's
little
more
noise.
Koroks in this game, or at least more Korok seeds than there were in Breath of the Wild?
that's wild.
Not by a
I didn't
lot,
know
that.
but there are more. Actually, do you guys know how many shrines there are?
I do not.
Okay,
I assumed it was the same number as Breath of the Wild.
I will not
But I don't
spoil
know.
that for you if you care. But
You can. I mean, I'm okay.
there are
with knowing the number of shrines.
152 shrines in this game.
Ooh, so even more shrines.
Yeah. I figure they made it so that it's enough to fill your stamina wheel and your hearts, and I don't know if there's any. Yeah, I don't know what else you would do after that.
But it needs to be that way because the game is freaking immense.
The shrines are also just like
Not only
better
is there
than-
all of Hyrule that's been changed drastically from Breath of the Wild, right? But you can go above and you can go below. And I can't describe to you what I felt the first time I jumped into one of those holes and I just kept falling and falling and
Yeah.
falling.
Oh,
and
and the
falling
sound.
And falling. And then that like bass sound goes like wah, and like it just sort
Here's
of opens up.
Here's also a little secret. All those light roots have shrines on the surface above them.
Really?
Yeah, and the name is
Yes.
yeah. I was not sure if I wanted to spoil that, but that is super.
I didn't know that.
This game is so much easier
You'll notice
to
it.
complete because of that.
Wow.
You just if you find a light root and you don't have a shrine on the map above it, there's a shrine there.
You can also
Wow.
this is like a
That's
little
great intel.
thing the game doesn't tell you, but if you're on the map screen and you change which layer you're looking at and then exit out, your mini map still shows the last layer you were looking at.
I did know that. Yes.
And that's
But-
super handy. If
I
you're
can't
using
even-
the light routes to find shrines and stuff. I've done that a few times.
Guys, I've spent so much time in the depths.
It's
I find
probably
it
the best part of the
fascinating.
game.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just
the
like a
depths are
full
really
size
enjoyable.
map underneath Hyrule, which is already like probably one of the biggest maps ever made in a game.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
And it
Like,
actually
they put
has
so
some
much-
of the coolest lore too. Like, have you been under the Great Plateau yet?
Yes, I did all of that.
When I found
Yes,
that's so-
the spring down there, it's like the spring of revival or something, and it's like implied that is what powered the shrine of revival or whatever it was, shrine of
Yeah.
resurrection. I was just like, oh, a morsel of lore. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is so good.
No,
Like,
I mean,
them keeping
yeah.
the depths a secret was the most genius
Yeah.
plan because everyone was like, "Oh, there's a sky."
And then the sky ends up just kind of being okay, honestly.
The sky was just kind of there,
Yeah.
but the depths is the real.
yeah, the
draw
depths is
of
the
the
real,
game.
like, new major, like, expansion.
Yeah,
to
because
the
because
raises
the depths feel
traversal
like a
concerns,
place.
too.
Like the only Sky Island that has any sense of place to it at all in the entire game is the Great Sky Island.
is the tutorial area. Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of them are
But-
just they're like floating shrines, basically open air floating shrines.
I mean, the thing I love about the depths is that, like, I feel uneasy whenever
Yeah.
I explore it. Right, like I have a finite amount of light root, like bulbs
Yeah.
or whatever I can use to light my way. Which, by the way, ingenious. Right, it's going to be like pitch black unless you light a light root or you bring like things to light your way.
also on that
and-
note, it's insane how much tutorialization this game hides behind shrines you might not go to.
Yes, very true.
Because I didn't
Yes.
know that you could throw materials until I was like 15
yeah.
hours into the game.
Then you found one of those shrines
Yeah, that's
that
a-
taught
that's
you
a
how to throw
huge-
materials.
Really
I'd been
important
using
mechanic.
arrows.
Otherwise, you're
I
just gonna
hadn't
be, like,
explored the depths
broke-
that much because I didn't want to waste all my
breaking your
arrows
bows,
using
yeah.
light bulbs or whatever. Like,
Right.
and finding
I've
out
just
that you
been
could
throwing them.
throw them instead of using an arrow is like a complete game changer.
But I've found so many neat things down there, man. It's so much fun to explore, and not only that, I've had like insane moments down there, right? Like I remember like one time, like I was just exploring, like finding my way to the next light route so I can light it and stuff. things were black. There was gloom everywhere. And in my hubris, right, I had like miner's pants. So there was like a little light around me. But I was just like, I'm just going to venture forth a little bit and not like save some of my light bulbs because like I was running out. And then I heard like footsteps, right? And then I take out my sword, I turn around, and there is a gloom Lionel right there.
Oh my god, yeah.
And it just comes at me, and I was just like,
I haven't
like
killed
I
one
felt
of
my
those yet.
stomach.
They're
I felt my
scary.
stomach. I literally felt my stomach like drop. I was like, oh god, like I was genuinely afraid, and it killed me. Yeah, it definitely killed me. It took a few attempts to kill that thing, but I did. But I was just like, that was fantastic.
Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom always throws those moments of just absolute fear, and those gloom hands do a lot to do that as well.
Yeah. There's just so much good stuff to find in the depths too. Like, and not all of it is like super well explained. Like the depths is the only place you can find non-rusted weapons, and I have no idea why. But like, they're just vibing down there.
Yeah, there's people down there, and
Oh yeah.
there's others down there that are kind of annoying, but you deal with them, and their storyline is kind of interesting. Seeing where that goes.
I thought it was very
I'm
interesting.
sure we all know what we're talking about.
I really enjoyed the depths and everything. I mean, I haven't fully explored it yet, not even close. Especially knowing how many light routes there are to find. It's a lot. It's not
It's a lot.
It's not as many light routes as there are shrines, because the shrines that are up in the sky don't have routes, which makes
Right.
sense. But it's a lot. There are a lot of them.
Man, that little tidbit like blew my mind. I didn't make that
It's
connection
such a
yet.
good idea
That's
too, because the
crazy.
light routes are so easy to find pretty universally. None of them are hidden.
Yeah.
So far for me at least.
They're just sort of there, yeah.
And then you have that, like, it no longer feels like cheating to look up a shrine map because I just have one
Yeah.
already. And every time I find a
And-
light route, I look at the surface to see if there's already a shrine there. And if there's not, I put a little marker so that I go back there later.
And just like lore wise, I don't know if there are answers to this, but even if there aren't, I think it's just so interesting to think about. Like, why are there ruins down there? Like, what existed here before, right? Like,
Yeah,
was it like an old Hyrule? Like,
I mean, you learn more
And
about the
there's-
Zonai in the depths than you do in the sky by a wide margin. Yeah.
okay, that's great.
Yeah.
But like, it's just so much fun to explore. It's so mysterious. It has that sort of like, it gives it a sort of like Dark Souls-esque quality, just exploring a very kind of dark, very kind of dangerous,
Yeah.
mysterious old place, you know? And there are a few like buildings. I don't want to say building, but maybe like ruins,
There are structures,
places,
yeah.
structures. That's a great word. In the depths that I found that I don't know what to do with yet. Like I found like a labyrinth, and I was just like, I have no idea how to get inside here.
Yeah.
I can't use ascend anywhere. I can't do anything. I'm just going to make note of this and come back. And I love that kind of stuff.
I have
So-
cleared one of those, and it was actually a lot of fun.
Yeah. Like there's just so much good stuff in this game. To the point where I'm just like, guys, like Breath of the Wild, like when Breath of the Wild came out, everyone's just like, how did they manage to do this? And now we're saying the same thing again when Tears of the Kingdom is
It
out
also
6 years
does
later.
such a good job of like juggling you between the different places. Like you can be exploring in the sky somewhere, and like you'll find an old map, and it'll mark somewhere in the depths that you have to go find.
Yes, that's happened to me too. Yes.
And then like you can either go chase that or save it for later, or you could be in the depths and you're running out of light root bulbs or whatever they're called, and those don't grow in the depths, so you're gonna have to go somewhere else to find them.
yes. And
That's all so good.
and Hyrule itself was made more interesting to explore. There are caves and wells.
The wells are
everywhere now.
my favorite. I love exploring the wells. I can't explain why, but they're kind of like because they're not really like a lot of them don't even have enemies in them. They're just like cozy.
Some of them have like NPCs. Some of them have like resources.
They're cozy little
Some of them
spaces that
little-
have like a little story to them sometimes.
Yes.
I will say there is a well in Kakariko Village.
Go on.
That's it. I mean, there's a well in
Okay,
Kakariko
that's all
Village.
you have to say.
Oh no.
You know,
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't think I've explored it yet. but
It's nothing
I
crazy, but
actually
it is fun.
just recently got to Kakariko Village.
Yeah, I didn't go there
And-
I had almost beat the game before I went there because it just I didn't remember
thought
where it
I
was.
should stop by there because at Lookout Landing or whatever, they mention it a few times. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is somewhere you're supposed to go kind of early. But I went there and it sounds like it's somewhere you go at the end because they're like, oh, Zelda told us not to like mess with this thing. So I assume I have to like get Zelda first or something. I don't know. But I went there and I didn't really find much to do there, so I went back. But like, I really have enjoyed exploring like like landmarks from Breath of the Wild. Like I remember intentionally going back to the Great Plateau and getting sucked into a whole thing there, finding so much stuff there and underneath there.
Yeah. Oh my god.
It was quite the treat.
The puzzle.
So I'm very excited to like return to other places like the forest where the Master Sword was in the first game, and like
Have you gotten in?
Lurelin Village. Not yet. I haven't even touched those places
Okay,
yet. So,
I went to I tried to get into the Lost Woods fairly early,
Lost Woods. For some reason I couldn't remember the name.
and
but yeah.
it's tricky. It's tricky to get in there. And I don't know what triggered this, but after a while the Korok started giving me a hint to help me get in, and I don't know why.
Really?
That was after I'd beaten Ganondorf. I did not go there until after I'd beaten Ganondorf.
To where?
The Lost Woods.
Wow. Did you have the Master Sword when you went into?
I'm not going to tell you that because
Ganondorf?
that'd tell you whether or not it was there. But
I mean, any Zelda fan, that would be the first place they'd think to look for the Master Sword. So, I mean, that's certainly where I'm going to expect to find it, unless they're going to like subvert my expectations.
yeah, that's why I don't want to tell you.
I mean, granted, the game does give you, I believe, the Master Sword during the.
Oh, really?
Oh, interesting.
Think so, yeah. I read somewhere that it will give it to you
That
at
makes
some
sense,
point during the fight.
Because they heavily imply that the Master Sword's the only thing that can hurt Ganondorf, really.
So speaking of like Ganondorf, like obviously up to this point I've seen very little
They
of
made him
him.
so
I have
hot.
seen him in a couple of the flashbacks.
I
he's
think
just
so
like
hot.
tremendous.
Yeah, also Matt Mercer,
jacked.
like, I was worried that it was going to take me out of it, but he does a good job.
Okay,
Does a
He-
really
he does a good
good job
job.
of being a villain, and it's astounding
I'm,
because he's
I'm
never
really
voiced
sorry to
villains
say
before.
this, but Zelda's voice acting is just the worst.
Oh, awful.
I just hate it so much.
I do think that
It's
the voice
so
acting
bad.
overall, it's not really any better than it was in Breath of the Wild, but
Zelda is like noticeably bad, I think.
yeah, she is. But it's the direction. It's not that actress's fault. But yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
They but just by sheer volume, and I don't mean like sound volume, but like how much voice acting there is, I think it helps a little bit because it took me out of the game every time I heard voice acting in Breath of the Wild, but where it happens more often in Tears of the Kingdom, it didn't take me out as much. So there's that. Have you guys been speaking of Zelda, have you guys been to Hateno yet?
No,
Yeah,
not yet.
I won't spoil it for you, but there's
That was on my short list of places I need to go, kind of sooner rather than later. But then I got sucked into this whole Goron thing.
you should definitely
But
check
I
out
do wanna
Link's
go to
House when you go to
Hateno, yeah.
Hateno. It's very funny.
I also want to check out Terrytown. see
Yeah,
what's up
Terrytown
with
is
that.
sick. There's a really fun
New Terry City, you mean?
What?
Terry City.
I call it New Terry City now.
Oh, okay. Did they say that in the game anywhere?
No, it's just been an in joke. I was just joking that at the rate Terrytown grew, it's probably like New York City now.
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot
Yeah,
of people.
it's a little in joke.
Now, Terrytown has some fun stuff to do. Terrytown is actually one of the places that best tells you the time gap between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Have
Okay.
you gotten a house yet, Connor?
Yeah, I have. That's a cool system. Yeah.
Oh, it's such a cool
Oh,
mechanic.
Man, there's so much more to this
Yeah,
game.
that's
I
not
hadn't
really
even
a
dipped my
spoiler,
toe
so
into
we
yet.
can probably talk
No,
about
no,
that.
I'm
It's
not.
not.
I'm not.
We could talk
yeah,
about it.
Yeah, I'm not upset.
The
about it.
house is
Yeah.
you ultra like they sell you rooms and you ultra hand them together.
It's modular.
Oh, of course.
And it's
It's such a neat mechanic.
it's expensive though. I only have like 3 rooms cuz they're too pricey.
I got a kitchen, a bedroom, and a foyer.
I think that's what I have, yeah.
Fancy.
Oh no, I have a triangle
There's
room to
a-
connect them. Yeah.
There's a Goron up in Goron City or near Goron City that'll buy 20 flint for about 1,000 rupees.
Oh, that's
What?
really good to know.
Yeah.
Because I have been
That's a lot.
The economy is in shambles in Tears of the,
The economy
Kingdom.
is in shambles. Yeah. Like I thought it was really funny. I went to, I think it was Kakariko Village, and there was a girl like tending a shop, and she was selling some armor. Just like, yeah, my grandma's sick, so we had to like ratchet up prices, and like this one piece of armor was like thousands and thousands of dollars.
You can cure
I was just
her
like,
grandma.
well, I know you can, but I was just like what? Yeah, I plan on carrying the grandma. Don't worry.
Yeah,
but
Damage was going to be a cold-hearted man and not
just
cure the grandma.
3,000 rupees to buy the.
Yeah. No, but like I love that this game, like, it takes everyone and everywhere from Breath of the Wild and sort of continues their stories. Like, locations you were in the first game will not be the same as you remember them, and there's reasons for that, and you can find the same NPCs, help them out, and like, it's really sort of rewarding to see that progression. But on the other hand, I have to think, what would this game be like to someone who never played Breath of the Wild?
I'll be able to tell you that
Could
soon.
you imagine?
My cousin Jake never played Breath of the Wild, and he
Could
picked
you
up Tears of the
imagine
Kingdom
just
last week.
the sheer volume of things you're just bombarded with? You know, like, it's got to be a magical experience, right? Like playing Tears of the Kingdom without Breath of the Wild. I have to think it has to be.
It would, yeah. Because just exploring and seeing that world was so special.
Because even Hyrule is new to you. Like, it's just like you have so much.
And that was kind of a problem I had in my early hours of Tears of the Kingdom. Was like there were places I didn't really care to go to Kakariko Village because I didn't like I knew what was there more or less. I didn't like. I don't know. I just didn't feel like going. Like Dueling Peaks, I've barely been around at all because there's just I don't know. It didn't change that much from Breath of the Wild, so there's no reason to go there.
But you might find someone new there or like a quest there or something. That's the thing. Like, you just never know what's behind the corner in this game. And that's like kind of why I feel like I have 40 hours into it, like within 10 days. Because it's just like so hard to put down.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to keep playing and playing and playing and playing. Like, and I don't know about you guys, but I've actually been playing mostly in handheld mode.
I played it almost entirely in handheld mode because I was at the beach. And I actually wanted to bring this up because I hated it. I hate playing this game in handheld mode. I feel like the render distance is fairly high, and I'm like, especially like in the Rito area with the blizzard and stuff going on, I just felt like I was like squinting, trying to even see what was going on my.
Oh, I think that was intentional though. In the Rito area, they like wanted to obscure your vision.
Yeah, but I that doesn't mean I enjoyed it. Like I'm back to playing it on my big TV now, and it definitely looks worse on the TV than it did on handheld. But I have exclusively drifting Joy-Cons. I have 4 Joy-Cons that all drift. And so the game, it significantly impacted my enjoyment by the end because I kept using the wrong items and stuff because my right Joy-Con was drifting.
Oh, that sucks,
and it was wearing me out. Yeah, it sucks. I just found out today that apparently Nintendo will fix Joy-Cons for free. I feel like I probably knew that at some point, and I'm mad at myself for not doing that preemptively for this game.
I mean, they better, right? Like, because most of them have this issue.
Yeah, you will not...
Yeah, my original Joy-Cons that I got when I first got my Switch finally started drifting. But luckily, I don't know, I went kind of crazy with this game. Man, I got the OLED, the Zelda OLED. So, like, I have brand spanking new Joy-Cons that are totally fine. So I've been playing in handheld mode, and I've been enjoying every second of it.
I think if you're a heavy user, you will not go a year without your Joy-Cons drifting.
Yeah,
it just won't happen.
I think I didn't play that much in handheld, and it took maybe like 30 hours before my Joy-Con started drifting.
Yeah,
that sucks. Yeah, Nintendo certainly has some work to do for the next system.
Yeah, Nintendo used to, like,
with regards to
my
that.
Nintendo 64, that is, like, as old as I am, ish.
Still works?
Still works, yeah. There's no drift, nothing. It works perfectly. My GameCube that I bought in, like, 2002 still works perfectly fine. My Wii still works perfectly fine. The Wii U is where the cracks start to show. The Wii U's actually had a fairly high failure rate on the disk drive.
Yeah.
I think... Nintendo's next console is, I would bet, an arm and a leg coming out in 2024.
Yeah, I think that's
and when
likely.
That happens,
and it'll have Super Mario Odyssey sequel as a launch title.
I think they probably like it. You know, I would be willing to bet that game is done, much like Tears of the Kingdom, and they are just now polishing it and holding it for that console launch.
And I'm actually fairly.
yeah.
I think it will be a Mario game because there have not been a lot of Nintendo consoles to launch without a Mario game.
Well, I was gonna say it definitely won't be a new Zelda game.
No, that'd be insane.
But I could see them re-releasing Tears of the Kingdom with some kind of like expansion.
Yeah,
next year.
I am very curious if this game will have
see that.
DLC because like.
Oh, it has, dude. Okay,
yeah.
Let's put this into context. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild was Nintendo's best-selling Zelda game by far, and it has become one of their best-selling games, period. Tears of the Kingdom, in the first 3 days it was out, outsold Breath of the Wild's first year on the market. The Zelda stocks are going to the moon. And when you hear sales data like that, it's not surprising when Aonuma comes out and says that the template set by Breath of the Wild will be how Zelda will be.
Yeah, which is
going forward.
Even as much as I like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that's kind of hard to hear because I do like traditional Zelda, and I do like traditional Zelda as well. There's value, and I think that still, I think eventually we'll reach maybe a fever pitch of nostalgia. They'll have to go back, and they'll go back, and it'll be great and celebrated. But I think right now, that team over there just feels like they've struck gold. Well, they have, in a literal sense, financially, but also creatively. I feel like what they just feel unleashed, like development wise, mechanics wise. I definitely, and I think they're just really excited to play more in this sort of new Zelda sandbox they've created. They've also hit their stride so hard art style wise.
Oh yeah, this is the best Zelda has ever looked. Yeah, easily.
I didn't know this until recently, but apparently the team hated developing Twilight Princess, but they had to because of how poorly received Wind Waker was.
That's such a shame, man. Yeah, Wind Waker was the best.
And Twilight Princess was the best selling Zelda game ever at the time.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So I really think there was a lot of. I think there was a lot of pent-up creativity that finally got released with Breath of the Wild, because I read that whole Aonuma interview, and it was so fascinating, because he says sometimes we have ideas for years, even decades, that we can't execute on right away, but we bottle up until we can. And this sort of free-form Zelda was one of them. And the time was right, and they did it. And I think, Zelda Twilight Princess, right, is what the fans wanted, and they made that. And it was fine, right?
No, Twilight Princess is good.
I enjoyed Twilight Princess.
It's very much
lot,
just Ocarina of Time too, but it's still very good.
I enjoyed Wind Waker more.
Oh yeah,
and in Wind Waker definitely felt closer to Breath of the Wild in the sense that there was freeform exploration.
Wind Waker is my favorite game to look at randomizers of, because that almost does introduce the freeform exploration.
Yeah, they almost got there with Wind Waker, but I feel like Twilight Princess and then Skyward Sword. I don't know the story behind Skyward Sword, but it would not surprise me if Nintendo was like, "Hey, we have these motion controls, build a game around it."
Yeah. But Skyward Sword gets a bad rap for its controls and stuff. It had very good dungeons. It is my least. It's the worst Zelda game, but it
is my least favorite Zelda game as well.
It has good dungeons, and the world is interesting. It probably has the strongest pre-Tears of the Kingdom story.
I don't think I disagree with that, but where I was going with this is that you take all of those past games into account, while good, right? It really didn't feel like maybe their heart was totally behind it, but now they get to do this, and I can feel the passion as I'm playing it. It really feels like something that was created with a lot of love, a lot of creativity. So I don't know, man. I'm excited for this team. I think they're just getting started.
Yeah.
And I think. They've really, really hit something special with this new style of Zelda. I love old Zelda too, but I'm excited to see where things go from here.
I do still wish they would do a more traditional dungeon in this style, because I think that is possible. But
I think
we'll see.
It's possible, but I don't know. I think it would be challenging, because I think the freeform nature of a lot of the puzzle solving in Breath of the Wild is almost antithetical to the dungeons in the old game, where it's this very specific item will help you do this very specific thing.
There's no keys,
so you can progress
have
in the
keys
dungeon.
And doors, I guess.
So that's why I don't know. It's a tough challenge to solve, but I think they got closer, at least based off the one dungeon that I did.
They did get closer because a lot of the dungeons in this feel more like Hyrule Castle did.
Yes, exactly.
Oh yeah, and Hyrule Castle was the high point of Breath of the Wild.
However, there is no real Hyrule Castle equivalent in this game, really. Like, Hyrule Castle is obviously still there.
There is literally Hyrule Castle.
But it's
right?
not as
And
interesting in this game as it was in Breath of the Wild.
I did explore it a little bit and didn't really find anything there that I found some like useful items, but like that was about it.
There is some useful items. There's definitely one you missed that you'll find later and be very excited about.
Okay.
But I don't think you could have found it without some information you don't have yet.
Interesting.
The interesting thing for me was something I really enjoyed. I don't know if you guys have been into the shelter underneath Lookout Landing again, but eventually a wall breaks in there.
Oh yeah, I've done
and
that.
there's just a passage
Oh,
that
yeah,
was
I
like
did that.
the royal
It just
family.
goes on and on and
I
on.
loved that.
couldn't-
I really enjoyed
I could not
exploring that.
believe how long it went. It
And
went
that
on.
felt like a Zelda dungeon to me, honestly. And that's the caves kind of scratch the dungeon itch for me almost more than the temple dungeons do. Like,
I really like the caves. The one thing that kind of annoys me, and I'm sure that might get alleviated later, is just like breaking apart those
never
rocks
gets
with my bare
It's-
hands. That sucks.
it's really annoying. Yeah.
And I don't want to waste
Called
like
the
bombs on
Goron.
it and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even think
How-
of that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Okay. I suspected something like this was coming, right? Because like there's no way. But it's good to know that it's there.
I have not even thought of that because I find the other abilities so pointless that I turned them all off. So
Well, maybe you haven't found the right.
Oh, you
use for
don't
them.
have them running around with you to fight with you?
if I get into a big fight, sure.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I guess that's a bit of a spoiler, but whatever. That once you get these spirit abilities, it's basically like having a little avatar with you, and they help you in combat and stuff, which is fine, I guess. The Rito one, at least, they land like headshots like all the time, and it's kind of useful.
It gets cooler. Like the Rito is actually the lamest one for that, probably.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, that gets cooler as you go.
It's such a good game.
It is such a
guys.
good game.
I mean, obviously, I'm still in the honeymoon period right now, but probably my favorite Zelda.
It's also
You know,
way
I'll
more
have to- I'll have
replayable
to
than
finish
Breath
it,
of the Wild,
but-
I bet.
I already feel that too
Because like
already, because like
the order I did
Even-
stuff in mattered more, I feel like, in this game.
interesting.
Like and there are like challenges that I could see myself doing. Like
Al- Also, shrines, huge level up from Breath of the Wild.
oh,
I think.
colossal.
The
They
shrines
loved
are
Evil
way
Side
much
Island.
better.
I will tell you that. The developers of this game had a lot of
Oh yeah, I've had a couple like that.
there are even places in the open world that take away your equipment occasionally. Like
Yeah. Oh man, I wonder what Eventide Island's like. I should go back there.
it's the only shrine I have found and not completed. I can see it. I can't figure out how to get to it. I
Interesting.
spent over an hour in this stupid room trying to figure out how to get to the shrine, and I could not get there. I need to go back.
Maybe Ascend. Like there's been so many
I
times
forget
where I'm
about
like,
Ascend a lot.
I exactly. You forget about Ascend, then you remember you have it, and it just like instantly solves something. You know,
Yeah.
like, and it's so fascinating that like Ascend was essentially a debug tool
Really?
originally. Yeah, there was like an interview where he said, yeah, Ascend was just a tool for like developers to quickly get out of caves or something.
Oh, well, it's
And-
so
but
nice
then-
to have for that
And then
purpose, too.
and then Aonuma looked at it and they were just like, you know what? Like, let's just put it in the game.
There are some really fun puzzles that use it, too.
And like Tears of the Kingdom screams like a game that came from a result of having way too many ideas for Breath of the Wild that an expansion or a DLC just
Yeah.
couldn't do. And I think that's what it was.
You can, like, see the bones of this originally being a DLC occasionally, and I don't mean that as an insult at all, but every once in a while, I see something that was like, oh, originally this was going to just slot into Breath of the Wild cleanly.
And they just had way too many ideas
Yeah.
to like put it in.
Yeah, I think they're just overflowing with ideas over there, and the result of that is a game like this.
And the shrines are just so much better now. Like,
Yeah, they're so
Some
good.
of them aren't
there
even
have
like,
been a couple.
some of them there's not
They're-
even a puzzle or a challenge or anything. It's just this is a fun mechanic. We're going to let you do it for a little while for free.
This is a fun mechanic, and like, hey, if you didn't discover this on your own already, here it is,
Yeah.
and you can incorporate this into your problem
Like
solving toolset.
stabilizers are such a cool mechanic, and the fact they built a shrine around them is neat.
Yes.
I love
That's a
that.
very
Yeah.
good shrine too. Do you guys have a favorite thing you've built yet? Like a favorite vehicle or
Oh man, I don't know. I love attaching rockets to things.
Yeah.
But
I love attaching rockets to
I-
weapons. That's one of my favorite things to fuse to stuff.
I haven't attached a rocket to a weapon, but I have attached it to a shield, and that's fun.
It's funny on the weapons.
Basically,
it just
like
makes
a
them do more
hypercharged,
damage,
like a
but-
send. Oh, another really cool thing I found. I was in a shrine, and I think I needed to like get up to a ledge, and I didn't want to do it the normal way, so I just fused a bomb to my shield and
Yes,
jumped on it,
yeah.
and it worked. And it was just this game.
It's so good.
So much like they're like emergent solutions, you know, like you just think of something, you try it, and it works, and then like there you go.
I really
It's a
like
thing
the
you can do.
vehicle building. Like I'm working on expanding my battery right now. Cause
Yeah, that's another. I didn't realize when I started the game that was going to be like a new expandable thing in addition to like hearts,
and it's also
stamina.
like the biggest reward for exploring the depths is getting that. But
Yeah,
I have a vehicle.
mine's 3 long so far.
Mine is 3.5, I think. 3 full batteries long. Yeah.
3 full batteries. Yeah.
So my favorite vehicle I built, I actually saw it on Twitter and copied it, which that's kind of lame, but it's just 2 fans and a steering stick in a bike shape, and it's just like free flight. Like it sips battery pretty cleanly. Like I definitely have to park every once in a while and recharge. But I think if I had the full amount of battery, like I could fly really far with this thing.
That's awesome.
And it's
I
just
think,
really
like,
fun to do that. And you can like throw a light bloom on it, on the front of it, and you just have a light flying around the depths. And it's like, it's so good, I almost don't want to use it all the time because it feels overpowered. But also, it just feels good to fly it. It's really fun. And it costs like nothing to build.
Like the fact that you can slap a steering stick on literally any messed up augmentation of items,
Yeah, that must have been very difficult for
and
them
it
to
just
develop
works.
too.
is
they must have
astounding.
tested the crap out of that.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. This
Like,
extra
hey,
year, I think
have
that's where all this work
stack
happened.
of logs. I slap a steering stick on it, and it steers how you'd think a stack of logs would steer.
Yeah, it's actually nuts.
Like it's magical.
I definitely want to, like, I'm kind of saving some of the field bosses. I haven't been doing a lot. Well, I guess they've respawned, but I haven't done a lot of that because I want to, like, build tanks and stuff to go fight those. I don't want to do it the same way I did it in Breath of the Wild because the Lionels, I think they're a little harder, but they're not that different than they were in Breath of the Wild. So,
I've only
like,
found one Lionel in the depths, and it was a tough one.
Yeah, but I would rather, like, build a tank and roll up to a Lionel and, like,
right.
destroy. And like some of the like flying drone things that I've seen, where people just roll in and like lasers start firing and stuff. Like
It's crazy,
that's all
man.
So good. Oh, I want.
And I this is just, dude, we're only 10 days in.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what people are going to think of in the next few
No,
months.
I think I know what I want to build. I want to build a working catapult using the stabilizer.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, you can do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anybody else do it.
You sort of already did that in that shrine.
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah.
at least the way I solved it. I, like, turned it into a
Yeah, but I
catapult.
want to use it as a weapon, which I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
And I want to
Stick a
like have it
bomb
on
in it or
wheels so I
something.
can roll it around Hyrule and stuff.
Yeah.
That's the only
Tow it
thing that
behind
is
your
kind of a
horse.
shame is like you can't leave a vehicle sitting somewhere. Like if you walk very far away, it's gonna despawn,
Right. Yeah, you'll have to, like, drag it with
and
you.
that's a shame. Like it's not
Yeah,
so
you can
bad,
put it on the
but
back of your horse, though. That's the thing.
it consumes. Yeah, you can attach it to the back of your horse. That is actually really
You
nice.
know, that is really cool. Yeah. Did you guys import your horses from Breath of the Wild?
Yes.
I didn't have
That-
a Breath of
that
the
was a
Wild
nice
That
horse,
made me
surprise.
so
Yeah.
happy too. I was
Yeah.
hoping for a
the
little
only
more,
bit of
but-
data that carries over from one game to the other are the horses you have.
Have you found a lot of the fan service armors or anything yet? Like, or have you just found the Phantom?
Just the Phantom armor.
I found
but
almost-
I've heard there's like a lot
There's
of
a
stuff.
lot. I found almost the full Wind Waker suit.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, and one of them is just shorts that like the tunics cover completely. So you look like Kid Link. And that's funny to me. And I found some of the Ocarina of Time stuff, but I haven't found any full outfits yet. I found the boomerang from Wind Waker.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
God.
Like, is it breakable?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, you can find a lot of weapons. Like, I found the Twilight Sword that they killed Ganondorf with. I found the Bigoron Sword.
Holy crap.
I found the Fierce Deity Sword. All of them are breakable.
Dude.
You can get them back,
that's
but they're all
crazy.
breakable.
That is wild.
Yeah, there's a lot of fan service weapons and stuff that you can find. And they're all, like, there's a shop where you can get them all back.
Okay.
But I can't imagine
That's
I
cool.
ever will.
That's
Because,
really cool.
like I said, they're all just worse than the fusion weapons. Like, it's neat.
Yeah,
to
if
have
you
them.
you can fuse together some powerful weapons. Like, I think my strongest weapon is like 60 plus attack right now, but I'm sure it can get stronger than that.
I have beaten that pretty handily, especially because
Yeah.
some of the weapons have like attack increase under certain circumstances.
Right.
Like using those, I've had one-handed swords that deal 80 damage before using those.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I just melted everything without. And I thought I had just come up with a really smart combination. I didn't realize that it was like a Zora Trident and it was raining or something.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, at least where I am with this game, the way I am playing it, like, obviously I've put a dent into it, but I'm not even close to finishing. Like, I've barely explored 2 out of the 4 main areas, not to mention, like, all the other villages and stuff and what there is to do there.
Yeah.
I've explored, like, maybe a 5th or a 6th of the depths, which is quite a
That
bit.
might be more
but,
than
like,
me even.
there's a lot more. Yeah.
The depths are huge.
And I just love the way you populate your map in this game versus the first game. You know what I mean? Like the way you, when you get to the tower, what happens. Yeah. First time that happened, that was pretty magical to me.
It was extremely. The whole like the first 2 hours of this game are.
It was just sheer joy.
Yeah, my
It
jaw
was just
was
pure-
just on the floor the entire time, and that's.
It was just
yeah.
pure bliss.
And there's like sprinkles
just
of that
like-
throughout too, which is like incredible because not very few games make me
Maintain that
Yeah,
both quality and quantity
yeah.
are there in spades, and that's very hard for a game to do.
And like obviously I'm at a point there's no more memories left to find or anything. There's no more story, but I would not be surprised if there are shrines that are so good that my mouth hangs open, like still that I haven't found yet. Or even like
No.
little side quests.
how many shrines have
That's
you done?
another thing I really like about this game is the difference between a side quest and a side adventure.
Yes, side adventures are more
They're meaty.
substantial.
Yeah. And then
How many shrines have you done?
I'm nearing 100. I think I'm at like 96.
Oh wow, okay. I'm at like 45.
No, that's why I
believe.
looked it up because I was like, God, I'm getting kind of close to that 120. And that 120 is
No,
an
you still have a
insignificant
lot
number.
left. Yeah, you have a lot
Really
left.
nothing.
What about you, Mike? How many shrines have you done?
You
know?
50, 52.
Okay, we've done roughly the.
Wow,
You've done a little more than me.
I am
Yeah.
killing you guys on shrines.
You've also put
Well-
like 20 plus more hours than
I've
I
put like
have.
15 more than Mike though.
I'll discover a shrine and then I'll just walk by it.
Oh,
and
I
leave it.
never do. If I find
Oh,
a
I
shrine,
never
have to
do that.
because
Yeah.
I'll forget to come back to it.
Yeah, I
There's
always.
a couple shrines I have.
I do that
discovered.
to Koroks and the sign guy though, Addison.
Oh yeah, I ignore them now.
Addison
like,
wears me out.
unless-
it's such a
yeah,
I
for the
think they're
first
fun
few times I
puzzles
did it, but then
when I'm in the
yeah.
mood for them.
But yeah, first few times I was just like, okay, but then I was just like,
No, he's
I'm sort of done
everywhere.
with this. Yeah,
And some of the Koroks
And now
want
the
you-
Koroks.
some of the Koroks are asking Herculean tasks that I don't feel like doing.
right. Hey, that's my
Yeah,
friend
I
over
talked to
there,
the
like
Koroks and
17
just
miles
kinda
away.
dumped
You're in Kakarika village, and the friend is in like the Hebra Mountains. Like I'm not doing.
I know.
that.
It's just like, are you kidding me?
This is why people crucify them. That's,
Like,
that's
I'm not your
exactly
Uber
why they're
driver.
getting tortured.
The Korok says, "Build me an F-150."
It's so funny though.
Be my Uber
Like,
driver.
that's the other thing too. This game, I feel like it has a sense of humor.
Oh, yeah?
like it's quite funny.
There's no way the playtesters weren't like crucifying Koroks and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
There's no way.
Ugh. I've seen like execution, like firing squads
Yeah.
for Koroks. I've seen like them getting like shish kebabbed over like an open fire, like
I've seen them
I
launch.
rotisserie
love
style.
the Korok rotisserie.
Yeah.
Oh my
rotisserie,
god,
that's what it
the
was, yeah.
Korok rotisserie was the first thing I saw. I'm like, oh, this is great.
And the sounds they make are so funny. Oof.
Yeah. Man, it's just
But-
a superb game, and I like obviously my expectations were really high, to say the least, after Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, which is by all accounts one of the best games ever made. I know Mike disagrees, but by consensus, I think most people would agree with that. Tears of the Kingdom just one ups it, and it seems effortless, but obviously a lot of work into it. But the fact that the devs were able to even do this, it excites me a lot.
It is also
'cause it
still the
shows
high,
me that-
and I assume it'll maintain this for a bit. It is the highest rated game of all time on OpenCritic.
yeah. I mean, yeah, there's something real special about this Zelda team. And like, obviously, who are we to doubt them after like 3 decades of consistency? But like, it seems like they are peaking now. 3 decades in.
Maybe,
Which is
maybe
crazy.
they're peaking, but
Yeah.
it also feels like they're just getting started. Because
Or they're on an upward.
this is
slope,
a genre unexplored in the AAA space. Like I've played games
Yes.
like this at an indie level, but there's obviously a lot of compromise in a physics sandbox game at the indie level that Tears
Yeah,
of the Kingdom does
it's
not
like-
have.
What do you get when you take those creative tools and marry that with AAA level effort to where like you can spend hundreds of millions of dollars and over half a decade on this game and it's okay. Like the end result is this, right? So, man, I just don't know. Like, are we gonna play the sequel to this in 2030? I hope not, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it'll be a while because I don't think they're going
Yeah.
to be able to use this Hyrule
Yeah.
again.
I don't think so. What I would love is basically a Wind Waker spiritual successor, but with Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom creativity and mechanics. Like, could you imagine that?
I
Like
would
an
like
ocean?
that. I do think it would be hard to match the density because I love Wind Waker.
The density would be similar to like the sky, probably, or
Yeah,
something.
Wind Waker does have the problem of like the gaps between the islands, which are not a problem on the GameCube because it needed that time to load anyway. But I would want a denser map, but also a denser map doesn't make sense in an ocean.
Yeah.
and that would get to me, I think.
Well, what I do know is that I do trust this team.
Oh, yeah,
with
whatever.
whatever comes next.
No, I will be buying
'Cause
Zelda
I didn't
day
think-
one for the rest of time.
Like, there were so many. Let us not forget, even on this very show, we were doubting, like, could they top Breath of the Wild? Maybe, but, like, it would be really hard. And they just, like, alley-ooped
Yeah.
it like it was nothing. Like, I don't think I would ever want to play Breath of the Wild again, because I genuinely feel like Tears of the Kingdom has made it obsolete.
I'm not ready to say
unless
that
you're like,
yet.
Unless you're, like, craving the old power set or something.
Yeah, the old power set, even like speedruns of Breath of the Wild, I think will stick around because the bugs.
Right, like, but in that capacity, like, I'm talking about, like, just playing the game again as, like, normally. Like, I would much rather just play Tears of the
I
Kingdom.
think if I'd not played either of them yet, I would still want to play Breath of the Wild before Tears of the Kingdom.
Well, you had the benefit of hindsight there, but, like,
Yeah.
I feel like if someone totally new to the series was just like, hey, Tears of the Kingdom, I've heard it gets, it's really popular,
You might
it's
be
getting
right.
good
Like,
reviews.
if you ask me a year
Should
from
I
now,
play Breath
might
of the
agree
Wild?
with you.
I would say no. I would say just play Tears of the Kingdom.
If you ask me a year from now, I
Yeah.
might agree with you. I'm just not ready to say that with any conviction yet.
Yeah. That's
Because
fair.
the recency bias is still very strong with this game.
Oh, yeah, it's very strong, but, like...
But it is, I mean, this
Man,
will be game
man,
of the
what a
year.
game.
There is no
Oh, yeah.
doubt.
No
There's
doubt in my
nothing
mind.
on this year's lineup that could even possibly
Could you
come
imagine,
close.
like, if this game had originally come out last year,
Oh my
if
god.
it, as intended, and we would get this versus Elden Ring?
This would have beat
like,
Elden Ring easily, handily, in my mind.
Man, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I think this
But-
would have beat Elden Ring just by merit of variety of gameplay.
Yeah.
And like magical
There's
moments.
just so much.
Elden Ring
There's
is
just
not
so
to
much.
not to downplay Elden Ring. When
It's
we're talking
magic
about
in a
games of
different
the
way.
decade, we will have to look at
Yeah.
these two games.
Right, right.
I'm not there yet.
We're not there yet, but man, what a game. Let's end the show so I can go play the games more.
Well, do we have any games we've been playing?
God. No, I have a game. It's called Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we've been
And I
playing
don't
anything
imagine
but
I'll be
Tears of the
playing much
Kingdom
else
the
for a
last week
while.
and a half.
Yeah.
Like, I know
So-
exactly after I finish this move, I'm just going to be grinding and streaming Tears of the Kingdom again.
And that really makes me super happy because, like, I feel like we've come full circle now. Mike is now a believer in this new
It's
style of Zelda.
terrifying.
So
I've tried to find bad things, but it keeps making me happy again. And
it really is. And
I hate
Mike's
how-
not the only
how
one
good
either.
it is.
Like I've seen Breath of the Wild dislikers say that this game is just is
It's a masterpiece.
This game is him.
This one, and this being the game they have to top is.
Yeah. But that's what we said in 2017.
Yeah.
And they did it. So
Well, that is the weird thing
Good
about
luck,
this
Zelda
one.
team.
Breath of the Wild made us think that AAA gaming was going to change.
it was just the Zelda series that really changed.
Tears of the Kingdom does
I
not
mean,
make
I
me
don't know.
think
Elden
AAA
Ring-
gaming is going to change.
I don't think. I think Breath of the Wild was the impetus for that. And I think Elden Ring would not exist without Breath of the Wild.
I agree, but I don't see a Tears of the Kingdom inspired Souls game coming. Like,
But what if though?
Oh my God.
Like holy
Banjo
moly.
Kazooie finally gets
But-
another sequel, and it's a nuts and bolts
Yeah.
too.
Right? They were like, we thought of this 20
The
years
world's
ago.
finally ready.
Yeah, the world's finally ready. But no, like, I don't know, man. It's such a special game. I just don't know what else to say. It is a masterpiece.
I hope you text me when you find more of the memories about Zelda and stuff, or not memories.
I've only found two. So
It's good. It actually
yeah, the
is.
cutscenes I've seen so far are quite good.
Every
so.
cutscene is good. The only ones that I don't like are the ones. This is a little bit of a spoiler, I guess, but at the end of every dungeon, you get a basically identical cutscene, but with a different character in it, and that is annoying.
Oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
small blemish on an otherwise masterpiece of a
but
game.
otherwise, the cutscenes are quite good. Like, they're fun. They tell you a lot about
Yeah.
the characters, especially Zelda and Link, and how they've interacted in the past. It's good. It's very good.
All right. Any last words for Tears of the Kingdom?
Still unclear
That we
whether it
haven't
was
already
Tears
said.
or Tears of the Kingdom.
I think
Tears.
it might be like
meant
one of
to
the,
be
you know,
Tears.
Japanese like
It's
love
definitely Tears.
wordplay.
Like,
The Japanese love wordplay, so I could see like tears, as in the literal things you're finding, the tears of the kingdom. But also there are several tiers to the kingdom: a sky tier, a ground level tier, and an underground
that's a
tier.
good point. Yeah.
And the game, the kingdom was torn apart in the beginning of the game. It could be all of those things, and that would be a very Japanese thing. So it wouldn't surprise me if all of those things were kind of captured by the title.
That's the other thing
of the game.
I just want to shout out. This is quick. The localization team was firing on all cylinders. There's a lot of good humor in this game.
Really good.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Extremely good. Like Addison's name, like being Addisine, like that's such a good pun.
Oh, that's great.
And
yeah.
it's just full of stuff like that.
All right. If by some chance you have not played this game, go play it. And if you didn't like Breath of the Wild, play this game anyway, because this is the Zelda game to beat.
There's really
as far as
something
I'm
for everyone.
concerned.
Actually, that could be what this game does, is like kind of bring back the immersive sim in a big way. I could see that happening.
Aoma really walked into my house and held me at gunpoint to play this game. Don't listen to them. Don't
But
listen
if
to
we're,
them. They're
I mean,
lying.
sales data alone is indicating that this game is going to handily eclipse Breath of the Wild. So
Yeah, I mean, it beat Breath of
terms
the
of
Wild's
sales,
year
so-
sales in 3 days, didn't it?
3 days, which is just scary. Like, this is going to become one of, if not Nintendo's best-selling games of all time. So
Yeah.
excited to see where Zelda goes from here.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Kicking me into 3G. We gotta wrap this up.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up because I'm also on 7% battery and I don't want to lose this episode.
We gotta wrap up.
Thank you all
quick.
for listening. You can follow me not me. You can follow us at @Podcast Game Talk on Twitter. Please like, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, or any other podcast services you use. Click the link in the description of the podcast to join our Discord and talk to us there. Thank you, Connor and Mike.
Yeah, see you guys next time.
See you next time. Bye.